So welcome to episode 12 in this ongoing series where we're building a web application in Flutterflow. We're making fantastic progress on our journey here. We're going to have a little progress checkpoint first to see how we're getting along, and then we're going to start introducing the Stack widget. We're going to need that within inside our sticky note component to present to us the little hovering X where we can actually delete the sticky note itself. And we're also going to have a go at starting work on updating the sticky note as well, because there's lots to go on in that particular bit, which we're going to spread over this episode and the next one. So if you're ready to roll your sleeves up, let's get into the video and let's get cracking. Okay, so let's have a little check-in on our progress so far. This is where we were before. This is where we are now. We're certainly covering a lot of ground in this particular series. I think we're getting pretty close to being quite advanced with components in this particular series. We've obviously carried on looking at widgets and styling, and we've been implementing some kind of theming across our application. But you can see there we've got actions now in there as well. So that is going to obviously build up as you start using Flutterflow more. Certainly animations, we've applied plenty of those of inside this application so far, and there's likely to be a few more along the way. And of course, we've looked at state, we've looked at component state, and we've looked at app state. And of course, there is still page state to look at. We're not going to cover that so much in this season one, but we know that we're getting close to covering that as well. And then of course, data types has been covered in this particular series so far. We've obviously built out our sticky note schema that we're now using quite nicely. And of course, data binding is in there as well. And I've marked that as green because in this particular season, we've pretty well much now covered the binding of our sticky note to our actual wrap widget as well. So we're certainly well covered there. So let's now continue this journey and let's move into the next bit. Okay, so next up, let's look at deleting these sticky notes. Now, if you remember back to the actual final application, we had like a little X that kind of was just hovering over the right hand or the top right hand side of our sticky note. And when the user hits on the little X, then the sticky note disappears. Now, let's now implement that. We're going to need to do a little bit of a further widget UI refinement, and then we can put some interactivity onto that little X there to actually delete the note from our application state. So let's move over to that now. So let's just move this over a little bit and give us a little bit more room if you haven't already got that. Select the note component, and I'm going to now introduce you to a brand new widget called the Stack Widget. And the Stack Widget is a fantastic widget because although you apply it and wrap it around another widget, what that will allow you to do is allow you to do exactly what it says it does. It's actually stack widgets on top of each other. So here you can see here we've got our note container. If I just collapse that here, you can see that this is the only widget that is now in part of this actual component. It's kind of like the most parent widget that we actually have. What I can now do is I can right click on this and I can say wrap widget, and I can now choose this one here called a stack. So just choose stack. Now you're not going to see anything at all at this moment in time. Now with our stack, what we've now got is we've now got our single note container now in that stack. Now if I now add another widget, which will now appear just underneath this one here, then we know that that is then layered on the top of the actual widget underneath it. I mean, of course, we can keep stacking more and more and more of these widgets on top of each other, and that's what the stack allows us to do. So what we're going to do firstly, we're going to create a brand new widget inside the stack here. So just as you would do before, we can just hit the little plus here. We can choose a container, which is what we're going to have here. Choose container. Now you can see it's going to kind of sit horribly over the top, but we just now need to do some customization of this particular widget. So first thing I'm going to do with it selected, move over here to the right hand side. Let's give this one a name. So I'm going to call this one note delete a container like that. Just hit that little option there. Let's do some customization now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do just down here on the right hand side, let's just remove out the width and the height. So just with that selected, just hit the delete there, just hit the delete on there as well. Now with the secondary background color, we want this to kind of be quite transparent. So with that selected there, let's just clear the color. That's great. And then you won't see anything on the UI at the moment because of course we're going to put a child widget in there now, which is of course going to then expand out what we absolutely need. So with the note delete container selected, just hit the little plus here, and we're going to move down into an icon. So just select the icon option just down here. There it is. You can just see that now in the top left hand corner. We now need to actually find the icon that we need. So we want to represent this kind of delete. So I'm just going to put like a little X there, but you could put a trash can or something like that if that's what you wanted to do. Just choose the settings here. Now I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a search for cross. Is there anything there? Yeah, there's one of these here. We can just choose this little close one. That is absolutely fine. So just choose a close there. And then that you can see, if I just click away there, you'll just see there's like a grey one just at the top there. So with that icon selected, let's give our icon a name. So call this delete icon just like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this down from the top. So at the moment it's on the left hand side. We're going to move it shortly over to the right hand side, but let's just put some padding in here. So let's just choose a 12 here from the top, and let's just choose a 12 here from the right. Now we'll go in and move that in just a second. Now just down here, everything's looking good there. The icon size is perfect for us, and the secondary text color is, we just actually want to make a change there. We don't actually want it to be the secondary text color. We want to select that there, and we're just going to choose this informational one here. So just select that, which is going to be completely white. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you this here where we can actually then adjust the opacity. So we're going to kind of give it a bit of a semi-transparent look. So let's just up here just choose this from 1, which is basically mean that it's fully in the display. If I set 0.5 there, we can see there's 50% opacity, and if I just again click away here, you can just slightly see it there. It's just very sort of like grayed out. I mean, I could have kept it a grey color, but we want the text underneath to just kind of slightly show through if it kind of overlaps underneath. So that's why I've done that instead of just keeping it the grey color. Okay, so your next question is going to be then, how do you move that to the top right hand corner? Well, it's actually all done with inside the stack itself. So with the stack selected, you can now manipulate the position of the child actual widgets themselves. Now if you move down here on the right hand side with the stack selected, you've got this default child alignment. So I can click anywhere in there and you can see that my X can appear in different positions here, and I'm just going to move it up to the top right. And because we've provided that padding from the top and then from the right, it's brought it off of the edges there, and it just kind of hovers nicely now to the top right hand corner. So that's the look that we actually need at this point. So let's now move on and do some further customization. Okay, so let's make our sticky notes disappear by hitting this icon. So with the delete icon selected here, move to the action flow editor. With the action selected, click on action flow editor, and here we are. Now at the moment we're going to use the on tap event, but of course you've got other events if that's something that's useful for your own application, so have a look at that there. We're going to use the on tap event. We're going to add our first action here. On the right hand side, this is where we need to do a search for the app state here. So just type in app and I put S there, and we've got the update app state. So what we're now going to do is we're going to use that component parameter that we had here, that index position, which we're passing into this particular sticky note component, and we're going to grab that index and we're going to say, right, now remove me from this position with inside the application state variable, which is obviously our list of sticky notes. So with this selected, choose the add field here. We're going to choose the notes list here, just select that, and of course we're going to choose the update type, and we're going to say remove from list at index, because we're going to use that position. So choose that there, and then here index to remove. Now we just need to select this. Now of course in our component parameter you can see that we're passing this index in. So just with that index selected, that's all that we need to do. So that will now then quite correctly now remove that from the position within inside our application state variable. But what we also now need to do is we now need to execute that callback, and if you remember, that's another component parameter that we previously created, and we now need to add that here as well. So just choose the little plus here, add the action in, and if you remember, we're just going to do a search for execute as in EXEC, choose execute callback and select the callback that we got here, and we want to choose the on delete action. So we're going to do something very, very similar to what we did previously. We're going to need a hook onto the end of that on delete action, and that's going to just refresh the application state, which will then see the result of that with our sticky note being removed on the home page of our application. So with that all in place, hit the close there, and that is all good. Let's now pop over to the home page now. So with our home page selected, let's just scroll down here because we need to go down to the actual note component here. So this is inside the note wrap. So just select the note component. So this is this one just here. And on the right hand side, you can see that we've got the on update action here. We'll come back and we'll be doing that very, very soon. But we've got the on delete action. Just choose that one here. And all we need to do is add the action in. Just type in STA for state, update the app state there, and that's quite simple. That's all that we need to do, and of course it will rebuild the current page because that's our callback from our actual component. Just hit close. Now if we spin this up, let's see if this works. So here we are then, you can see our X is in a nice little position there. Let's hit the little yellow one there and let's see if it disappears. Fantastic, there we go. It's been removed from the list. The UI is updated. So let's now move on to the next bit. So let's add a little bit of further interactivity to our close or our delete icon that we got here in this case. When the mouse is hovered over, we want just to expand it and then just contract it. So let's quickly do that. Let's move over to the actual note component itself. And what we need to do is we need to wrap here. We need to do a wrap widget around our delete icon. So just with that selected, choose wrap widget, and we're going to choose the mouse region here. So we're going to pick that up, and then we're going to then obviously then activate the animation. But first we need to apply the animation to the delete icon. So with the delete icon selected, on the right hand side, let's move over to the animations here, and we want this to be an on trigger animation. Of course, we're going to activate this on that mouse region, hit the add animation, and of course we're going to do the scale. So we're going to increase it and then we're going to decrease it. So just choose the scale here. So our duration is going to be, say, 300. It's only going to be a single animation. We don't need to apply the same duration here. Now with our scale, we just want this to be quite a subtle increase. So maybe just like a 10% increase in size. So with the final scale here, so this is our starting position, which is as it is. We want to increase this then to 1.1, sorry, like that, and then 1.1 like that. I can just slowly sort of preview. Might need to zoom in a little bit here so you can see this. Hit the preview and you can just see it very, very slightly then increasing. So now that is in place, let's trigger that particular animation. So move over to the mouse region option. Let's move here to the top right here, just choose actions, open up the action flow editor, and here we are now with the two events. We've got the on mouse enter and the on mouse exit. Let's do the on mouse enter here. First choose add action. I'm going to go up here and type in anim like that. For widget animation, just select that. Choose the widget here to animate, which is our delete icon, and we're going to start this here, and we just need to click here and do the copy because we're going to go to the mouse exit, of course, and we're going to reverse that in animation. So just hit the paste animations. Now with that selected, just go here and do the reverse animation just like that. Hit the close, and let's quickly just see if that plays out okay in our test mode. Okay, so we just hover our mouse over here. You can see here our animation is just kind of playing out here. It's very, very subtle, but just because it's only like a 10% increase. So remember then, we are applying animations within inside the actual component themselves. So of course the animations are going to be quite independent. It's not like we're hovering over this one and then all of these other ones are all playing out. That's what you would get, of course, if you were building out just these embedded sort of container widgets on across the kind of more high level hierarchy of our application. But of course, these are all components. So of course, they're all got individual and independent behaviors. Okay, so let's give our sticky note then a little bit more work to do. Let's now focus on actually keying in the description details into the sticky note. So with the note selected here on the left hand side with that one, let's move back into this view here. And if you recall here, this is our hierarchy here of our widgets. Now, the one that we're interested in is this note description row. Now, we know everything inside at the moment is just the actual text itself. But of course, what we want to now identify is that if we are now in an is edit mode, we now want to switch that widget to then be the TextField widget so we can actually key in the details itself. So with that selected, we now want to wrap this one here, this note text, this note description text with a conditional builder. So just wrap the widget, and on here we just choose the conditional builder option. Now you won't see anything kind of change with inside the UI because of course we're just seeing what we saw before because we've got the little I selected here on this particular condition. Of course, if I just choose the else here, we then see nothing. We'll come back and we'll load that with a widget in a moment, but you can see here that we've got this one now selected. Now we need to now configure our conditional build it now to do that conditional check. Are we in an edit mode or are we not? So on the right hand side here, this is where we now need to put our first condition in. So let's choose the if condition here. So we are going to make a condition check here to say that are we in this, are we not in an edit mode, and then we're just going to display the description text. So the way that we do that is just choose this here. We're going to put a condition on there and just choose a single condition. Now our first value is, so we just select that here, and we're now going to move into the actual component state here, just with that selected, and we've got this is edit mode. So we just choose is edit mode, and we're going to say is it equal to false, and just hit confirm. That's already there, just hit confirm. Now we know now that this particular widget is going to get displayed if it is false, but of course down here we need to handle the else condition here. So this is where we now need to move back over here, choose the little I, and what we're going to do now is going to add a brand new widget in here, which is going to be the TextField widget. Just hit the little plus. You can see if I just scroll down, in fact we can just do a little search for text here, and you can see that we've now got this text field widget just here. Just with that selected, we're now going to get this in there. Now the look and feel of it is not going to be what we want. We're going to come back and customize that very shortly, but with the text field selected, let's move up here. Let's give this a name. So I'm going to call this on note description text field, just like that. Note description text field. Just hit the little tick there. Let's now work on some customization. So on the right hand side, we've got some padding that's been applied here. We want to get rid of that. We don't want that. So just hit this little option here. This will just reset it for us, which is a little convenience there. Let's move down here. Let's look at giving this text field then a value. So our initial value, so this is the text that's going to be populated into our text field. Now, if you think about it, when we go to edit the sticky note, we want to kind of the UI to kind of almost look the same, but just convert itself into an edit mode. So this is why we want to shape up the look and feel of the text field to kind of almost replicate the look of the actual text widget that we've applied when it's in a non-edit mode. So this is what we need to do here. So the initial value will be some component state here. So just with that selected, we're going to move down here. We're going to go down to our component state, and if you recall here, we've got our note. This is the note that we're actually passing into this component. Just with that selected, we're going to choose the available options here. We're going to choose the data structure field. We're going to select the field, and it will be the description. So if you remember, what we're doing is we're actually passing this this component state parameter, which is our sticky note. We're then converting that then to a component state parameter, or at least we're updating it to a component state, and that's what we're accessing here. So just hit the confirm there, and what that really will allow us to do is it means that when we actually then change the text, then the value is going to get saved or persisted within our actual component state sort of variable itself. And then of course, when we then go to then hit the save to actually update, we then take the values and then we apply it back to the actual position, or the actual note within inside our app state variable in the position that it is in the list. So we need to change the text style property. This is going to be a title medium there, and then just scroll down here. I don't think there's too many changes we need to make here. Just the line height. We want to match the line height there with the same as the text field itself. Sorry, the actual text widget. So let's just carry on here. Let's turn some of these off. These really are properties that you can kind of explore on your own here. Of course, there's lots and lots of different properties you can actually apply to a text field widget. We can turn some of these off. We want this to be a really simple sort of use here of the actual component. So delete all of this stuff out here. So let's just move down here. We can sort of clear some of this. That's all good. That's all good. Now, input decoration properties, we can turn all of this off. We don't need any of this. So it just simplifies it a little bit further. And they've got this option called dense here. We want this to kind of take up only the minimal amount of height that's needed. So just with that dense selected, that kind of makes it a little bit more in keeping. Now we want to keep autofocus on. That means that as soon as we actually reveal this actual text field to the UI, then the autofocus will mean it'll put the cursor actually into the box. So we can keep that on here. Anything else that we need to change down here? I think that is all looking pretty good. So that is looking okay for us. I think if we need to make any sort of tweaks, we can kind of come back to that and adjust that when we need to. So now that our note field is in place, how do we actually then save the values that we key into that back to our application state? Well, let's go through a series of steps to do that. So on the left-hand side here, choose your note description text field. Make sure you've got the little I selected here. Choose that there. Let's move over to the action flow editor and let's open that up here. And you can see here that we've got this option of on submit. So this is going to occur when the text is typed in and the user hits the enter key on their keyboard. That's at the point that we want this on submit to trigger and do what we need it to do. So the first thing that we're going to do is add a brand new action. Just select that. We want to update the component state first. So choose the update component state option here. Now let's set the fields, choose that. And of course it's our note. This is the component state variable that we've got created called note. So this is what we want to update. So just choose note there. Now with the update type, select that, and of course we're going to want to update the field itself. Now of course this is the description field that we're selecting, so just choose add field here, choose the description, and now this is where we now need to set that value. So on the little selector here, this is where we now need to kind of get at that TextField widget. Now that widget has got some state in its own right. We want to get to the values inside it. So how do we do that? If I just scroll down here, there'll be a new option here called widget state. So this is the state of that widget. Okay, I know it kind of is quite obvious by the name, but that's really what it is. Just choose widget state, and you can see here that we've got access now to this note description text field. So this is how you kind of get at these form-based widgets. So just select note description text field, and that is all that we're doing. We're just pulling the value out of that, and we're just applying that back to our component state variable, which is, of course, the field is the description within inside our note. So that's all that we need to do. Just hit the little done. So now we've got that set. We've updated that state variable. We now need to grab hold of that now, and we now need to then update the application state variable itself. We need to update the position of where this is, of course, and then we need to then update the values inside. So how do we do that? So we hit the little plus here, and we hit add action, and of course we're just going to look for this update app state. Just select that, of course, and we're going to set the fields, and we're going to grab hold of the notes list like that. Now if you look at the update type here, you can see here that I've got an update item at index. So we already know that we got the position within inside that app state variable. So by choosing update item at index, the first thing that we can do is select that index. Now of course this is going to be our component parameter here. We're passing that in, choose index, select the update type, and of course we are going to set the value, and the value to set, we're going to now just select the little selector here, and of course it is our, and you don't want to choose the component parameter here. You want to make sure that you actually choose the component state down here, and you want to choose the note, because this is what we're actually updating when we do this. So just choose note there, and then say confirm, and then that is all good. So then after that, we then need to turn this edit mode off. The users press enter on their keyboard. We want to go back to that text sort of a text widget on the UI. So just go here, click the little plus here, add an action, go and type in here state here, update the component state, and it will set the field. And we've got this is edit mode sort of boolean. Just select that. And the great thing about Flutterflow now is, of course, you can just toggle the value. So of course, if it is true, it will turn it back to false, and if it's false, it will turn it back to true. That's exactly what the toggle value does. Now finally, we now want to execute that callback. We want to kind of we want to tell our calling kind of page here to say, right, I've made all my changes, now do what you need it to do. So of course we've done this many times now. Hit the little plus here, hit the add action. We can now execute our callback. Just select that, select the callback, and this is going to be the on update action. So just select that, and that is all good for us. So that is all of that action is playing out quite nicely for us. So let's now move on to the next bit. So now we close the action flow editor down. Let's move over to the home page, because this is where we just need to do that state update. So just scroll down here, and you can find we'll come to the new node component, because this is what we need to hook onto. And down here on the right hand side, we've got this on update action. We're just going to go into here, and we're just going to do that simple change. Just hit the add action here, go to the state like that, and we're just going to update the app state, which of course is going to rebuild the state of our application. That's all that we need to give it our refresh, hit the close. And now our application is not going to do a lot at this particular stage, because we haven't now turned our sticky notes into the ability to actually then turn into this edit mode. So that's what we now need to do now. So we need to now add a brand new widget to our sticky notes. So let's go and do that now. So we're back inside our note component. Let's now activate this into edit mode. So down on the left hand side of the widget tree hierarchy here, we've got this note footer row here, which is kind of like only containing our actual create date of our notes. So what we need to do is we need to add a brand new widget in here. So just hit the little plus here, and this is going to be a row, because this row is going to contain some options for us, and which we'll come on to very, very shortly. Now with that row selected, just give it a name. Note button row, just like that. Hit that there. That's great. Now with inside that note button row, let's just simply just add an icon in there. So hit the little plus, do a search for the icon, and just select that there here. So what we want to do is we want to find an icon that kind of represents kind of like a little pencil or something like that. You feel free to choose whatever icon takes your fancy. Let's do a search maybe for edit. Let's have a look here. So let's go for that one that's here just on the right hand side where it says edit outline. Select that. That's nice. And then with an icon color, this one's always going to be white regardless of the theme. So just choose the informational one there I've got there. But of course, whatever custom colors you want inside your application, just choose that for good measure. So there it is. Now we're going to give our icon a name. So let's go up here and give it a name. I'll just call this one edit icon, just like that. So with our note date text, let's now push this icon here. So with the note date text selected, let's choose the little expansion option here, and that's going to just give that all of the available space, and of course is then going to push our icon on the right hand side. Now let's now start working on some actions. Now I know we haven't really fully customized this to the look and the feel of the final application. We'll come back and do that in due course, but let's just get this functionality working first. So we're back within our note component. Let's now work on the edit icon itself. So just select the edit icon. Let's give this some actions. Hit the little option there, open up the action flow editor, and here we are now with inside the on tap event. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to set the form field, which is our TextField widget here, with the value from our note state variable. So just choose the add action here. Now we'll just move up here, just type in form here, and you've got this one option here called note description field. Just select that, and then we can give this now a value. So just with the value selected, we now need to just drop into our component state variable, because this is what's containing our note detail, remember. So hit the note, and then with the available options, go to data structure field, select the field, and we're going to say description. So we're pulling out the text from that, and we're adding it and applying that to the actual text field widget. Just hit confirm. And then what we then need to do is we then need to update the component state. Of course, we need to turn this now into the edit mode. So just with the little plus here, choose add action, go to the state here. So go to component state and say add fields, and go to the is edit mode. And of course, we're just going to simply now just do a toggle of the value. So of course, this will turn it from a false to then a true that we're in edit mode. So just hit the little close. Okay, so just a few more things that we need to do, and then we can give this a good test. So let's move over to the note component, because what we now need to do is once this component is actually fired up, we need to make sure that we take our component state variable, which is our note, and make sure that is applied to our component state variable. So just with the note component selected, move over to the action flow editor, hit the open here, and on initialization of the component, we now need to set that. So go to add action. We just want to look for state there, update the component state, and say set fields, and we're going to choose the note itself. And what we're going to do is we're then going to set the value. We're going to say the value to select is going to be then the actual component state parameter value that we're passing in. This is really, really important, because if we don't do this, then we're not going to set our component up ready for us to be able to, for us to make changes to the text and all that kind of stuff, which obviously then later down when we save then this note, we want to make sure that we are saving that instance of the note back to the application state variable. So that's quite important. So hit the close there. Let's have a look and just see if there's any other little tweaks that we need to make then. So if I go down to the make sure the eye on the note description field there, let's have a look here. Make sure that your max lines here are with nothing in there at all, and we want to make sure that we're not restricting this just to one line. Typically what happens is when you create a text field, it sets it to 1. So just make sure that you've got that removed there. Let's have a look here. I did say we might need to come back to this and have a look if there's anything else that we need to change. So just down here, we want to make sure that we've got the submit type there as done. It just gives us then the right look there for depending on how we're actually running this application, and whether it's on a mobile device or anything like that, we can set the submit type up there. Anything else there, I think that we are all good to go. So without further ado, let's now run this up into test mode, and hopefully we can click on our little edit option, and then we can see that hopefully our cursor will be flashing in the actual UI. So let's go and test that now. Okay, so test mode is all loaded. Let's try adding a sticky there. Let's hit the little plus. Hit this yellow one there. That's fine. So you can see here that we can't do anything yet. It's we've got no values in here at all. Okay, when we've created the new sticky note, we're going to correct that in the next episode, where we're going to make sure our sticky note, when we create it for the first time, is in actual edit mode at that point, so we can actually sort of key the details in. But if we hit the little pen down here, let's see what happens there. So we can see that we can now move our cursor. So our conditional builder's working now. We're toggling that is edit value. You can see here we can now sort of type away. So this is all looking good. Now, of course, we've got some errors going on here inside the UI. You can see here that we've kind of got an overflow there. So we'll correct that in the next episode there. But you can see here that we can quite easily now type in details in here, and obviously by hitting enter there, it's actually now saving that. If I do an instant reload now, we should hopefully see the same view on screen. So we know that our value has been saved. That's perfect. Hit the little plus here, hit a different color. And then now we've got a new sticky note. As you can see, we can't edit. Let's hit the edit option. We can just move over here and we can see that we can actually now sort of type values in. Hit the enter here. And of course, we're going to get the same problem. So there's a few UI quirks that we need to correct. That's no problem at all. This is always going to be a bit of a multi-step process in this part of our application because there is so much going on here that we need to change. There's so much more functionality we need to add into this particular section. So we're going to do that in the next episode. Hopefully you've followed along and you haven't got too many issues. But of course, please do remember to, if you find yourself getting errors, please do clone the versions of the projects within each of the episodes. That'll give you a bit of a fresh starting point. And also it gives you the ability to actually cross-check your work as you sort of progress through the series. So there we go. Please do like the video, of course, much appreciated, and please do subscribe to the channel. Of course, if you're not a member of the Digital Pro Nocode Academy, please do feel free to check the link in the description and come and join us in the community. So until the next episode, I'll see you soon.